Hello, guys. Welcome to the next episode of Pathway to the Ivies. Today, we have one of the most dynamic, one of the smartest, and one of the most versatile profile makers that I've seen in like a very long time. It's Preet Agarwal. Preet has secured admissions from not one but six prestigious universities, including Carnegie Mellon, Barnard, Northwestern, University of California, Berkeley, Babson, University of Virginia, and last but not least, Emory. My God, I almost feel breathless while I speak each of this. But I am so honored, Preet, to have you on the show and to discuss your profile. Because, to be very honest, for all the viewers and listeners out there, this is one of the most dynamic profiles I have seen in a very, very long time. So, I think you guys might want to see the entire episode of this to hear Preet's take and what she's done and how she's fused in creativity with science. So, Preet, welcome to the show. Super, super honored and happy to have you over. Very happy. Welcome, Preet.
Thank you so much for that introduction. I mean, you spoke too much about me than I actually am. But thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here and talk to everyone and tell them how to go
Wonderful.
forward with
So
your
before we
college
begin,
journeys.
I know people will know what colleges you made it to and all the good stuff. But if you can elaborate by yourself, who is Preet as a person beyond these colleges and beyond these accolades and beyond all this? I know Preet is a very nice person because I've known you for a while now. But to our viewers, to make yourself more relatable, who
Yeah.
is Preet? What does she do? What does she like? Things that she's passionate about, so on and so forth.
Okay, so hi guys. I'm Preet and I have been living in Jaipur for my entire life at this point, and I am a person who loves making friends, who loves talking to people, a pretty extroverted person, always jumping around, always bubbly, never sitting down. I am, and I'm really bad at humor, by the way, so forgive me for that if I do make bad jokes over here. And I think I'm a person who truly believes in the power of teamwork and being nice and being kind to people, being caring, empathetic. So that's definitely something I deeply truly care about.
I'll also add to this part. So Preet is also very, very approachable. I'm sure once you watch this entire episode, you will find the need to approach her. So what I'll do is I will definitely add her email ID and her Instagram ID, and feel free to reach out. From whatever I have known of Preet, she will go above and beyond to help you in whatever ways means that she can, whether it is through contributing in any which ways, whether it is through her time or her contacts. I think she's always very, very readily available. So that's that. So Preet, very quickly jumping on to your conversation, let's first talk about the two majors that you applied. I know you've done a split major, meaning like one of the two majors. What were the HLs and SLs while you did it, and the importance of academics? So let's start with the first part of it. Your HLs and HLs and SLs and your majors.
Okay, so I've had business management HL, analysis and approaches HL. I did IB, and I have economics HL, physics SL, French SL, and English SL. So I know people sometimes in IB think that they have to do four HLs in order to get into the best universities. It sets you out as extraordinary. It does, but it's not necessary. You don't have to think that it'll put you at the back end if you don't have four HLs. It's fine. It's okay. Till the time you're performing well in the HLs you do actually have. So one thing about my application that I truly think stood out was my academics. I think academics are really extremely important, and how you manage those HLs also depends on how much you love those HLs. So when you're choosing HLs, of course, you need to take into consideration your college requirements. Like when I actually thought of applying to the US, I had to see that in some colleges for economics, perhaps I had to have a math HL. Also in the UK, you need a math HL if you're applying for economics and data science. So that's an important thing that you have to look into. You definitely need to see the requirements of your colleges and what subjects you do love. I think having physics SL was a big benefit to me. Like people do think that okay, it's fine if I don't take one of the three major sciences, bio, physics, and chem, and take ESS. I don't know about people who particularly took ESS, but I definitely think that having one of these major sciences does set your application apart. It showcases that you have it in you to step out of your comfort zone and take up a course, take up a subject that you don't actually relate with. Because as you can see in all of my the combination of my subjects, there's nowhere science, but having physics definitely did set me apart. That's what I think. So you do need to take into consideration that.
And Preet, thanks for the phenomenal insight. Could you let our viewers know how important is academics in this journey? But before that, you let us know what was you predicted. How did you score all throughout your 11th and 12th grade, and hence why you are sort of suggesting the importance of academics in this process. Like, is it
Yeah.
replaceable? Whatever. If you can just share your insights.
For sure. So I had a 45 predicted, which is in IVDPs. And I think the only reason why I was able to do that was time management. You have to have your time management because this US application process allowed me to know so much more about myself than I actually already did. It For that I had to do extracurriculars, summer programs, having to do academics, all of them together is such an exhausting and tiresome journey. Sometimes it's so stressful. It's of course daunting. It can scare you, but there's nothing to be scared about because you can easily do it. Because I think one of the main things that helped me through it, allowed me to always score the best in my academics, was thinking that, sorry, yeah, thinking that I'm not the only person who is doing it. There's so many people who are managing the same exact thing. It's not you. It's not a you problem. Everyone is doing it. So how is everyone doing it? When everyone else can do it, why can't you? So that is an important thing to think about. I say it with absolute conviction that nothing can replace your academics. I've had people come up to me and tell me that, oh, I have so many extracurriculars to manage. I have this to go to. I have summer programs to go to. It's fine. Everyone does that. What you have to do is keep in mind that you need to keep academics as your priority. You need to manage your academics with everything else. Nothing. If you have, for example, if you have a decent profile but an excellent academic score, it will definitely guarantee you a spot at one of the best universities. One thing I really recommend all of you to do is make to-do lists. This is something that is very cliched. It has helped me out throughout my journey. Setting your priorities, academics should definitely be at the top of it. I don't know about you, that helped me out a lot and that has worked for me. Because academics is the one thing that is in your hands. You can put your hard work into it and it will give you the result. It will give you the fruit of it. There's no luck or risk acting in it. If you are prepared enough, even the toughest paper will seem the easiest paper.
All right. So today, the next topic that I want to divulge into is having a theme when you develop a profile. Do you think it's important? Because sometimes um, students just give me their resume and they're like, "Ma'am, what's your take on this?" Right? And I'm like, "Yeah, like I don't know what to say." But I feel that the best resumes that come out are the ones that have a certain theme, and the activities, or a good chunk of activities are around that theme. So, did you have a theme? And if yes, what was it? And what's your take on having a theme to your entire applications that you do?
Yeah, I do think having a theme is very important for my entire application as well. Sustainability was the main theme. All my extracurriculars, not exactly, not directly, but sometimes indirectly related to sustainability. And that's what I connected with my Common App as well. If they're looking, because they don't look at your college application in pieces, they look at it as a whole. So if you have a theme to it, it showcases that, yeah, you are deeply enrooted in something that you deeply care about. You're passionate about something, and that's what they look for. I think colleges look for passion, look for how hard you can work for something you deeply feel about, and that's what you need to show in your application, in your entire application. For me, that was sustainability. All my extracurriculars, which I think we'll come on to right now, were enrooted in the core of sustainability, and I related the idea of giving value to the discarded in my common application as well. So I think that's definitely the most important thing. And I don't think you should, just because themes are important, you should think of the most random theme and enroot it into your application. No, think of something you actually feel about. Because again, I would come to this, till the time you don't enjoy doing something, you won't do it at your best. You have to love what you do in order to get the best results in it.
Wow, great advice. And
So
guys, please
yeah.
don't randomly do 50 activities or 50, I don't know what else that you're doing. Don't do it. Make a thing,
Yeah,
think
you
it
don't
through.
need
If you
to.
don't, just go and get in touch with your school advisors, your school counselors. They are your best help. And they'll at least be able to help you think through in what you need to do and prioritize, and don't let go of academics.
There's also, I think most of us have heard, passion projects, the it project of our entire application. I think that is something that is really important, not just because it's an ed project that you must have in your application. I remember when I was initially starting my college journey in 11th, in ninth grade technically, but I actually worked hard on it since 11th. So when I actually started it, I remember um, feeling like, oh, I have seen my seniors do their passion projects, do that it projects that set their application apart, and I must do it. But I never thought of. I started thinking of the most random ideas, and when I got those ideas and I started working on it, I couldn't. I genuinely couldn't, because there is a reason why they're called passion projects, because these are the projects that you feel passionate about. So don't think of the most random ideas just because you think that they look impressive on your college application. It's not what they're seeing. They're not seeing, oh, I did a I helped I did a drive, I did a cancer drive. No, they're seeing how many people you helped in that drive. And you'll only be able to help those people when you actually love doing that.
Great, great piece of advice. Now, Preet, we picked out about three or four things that I have been a big fan of, and I want you to, kind of, now that you've gotten these admissions and you're on the verge of committing to one, which is going to be one of the last few questions. Where are you planning to go since you have such great admissions on your platter? But I think the one of the two projects that I am really floored by is your company, Akiru. Can you tell our viewers what Akiru does? How did that idea come to you? And where are you in terms of your revenue? What did you do? All the good stuff. I'm sure this is one project which I think all the viewers and listeners should make a note of on what Preet did and how she kind of got to it.
Akiru is my dream project. It's the first project that I've ever started. And basically, we procure waste material from factories in Sitapura region, because Rajasthan has such a big textile industry. We use this discarded waste, go to women artisans. And since being an artist myself, I've always had designs in my mind that I wanted to give life to. So I contacted these women artisans, about a 250 women artisans. I asked them if they can sew these designs using that waste material, and they could. So then we started selling these garments, these Indian kurtis, on e-commerce platforms, for example, Amazon, Meesho, and Flipkart. And right now we sell around 150,000 pieces per month for up to 1,000 rupees each.
Wow. And are you guys profitable? Like, what's your profit margin for per piece, approximately?
Yeah, it's 200 per product.
Wow. So you are saying you make a profit of about 30 lakh rupees monthly. Wow. Here's a 17-year-old for you who's actually made 30 lakhs. Shark Tank, please note you already have a young entrepreneur in the journey. This is fantastic. I mean, I'm sure this is mind blowing. That's all I can say. Mind is equal to blown. Perfect. So this is fantastic. Good to know about Akiru. Let's jump to another project that has really, really caught my eye, and that is the Hope Connect app. Before I even ask you to do, anything about it and talk in deeper detail, this is a subject that I have felt very deeply about. So my grandfather passed away in cancer, and I think I was in sixth or seventh grade when I saw him passing away in cancer. And unfortunately, because he was old, he was 74 or 5, he refused to take any chemotherapy, because he's like, it doesn't matter, I mean, it's just going to prolong by a few years, and any which ways, I've reached the evening of my life, so I don't want to do it. But kudos to you for what you are doing. But since I know, that's why I was able to tell you. But for the rest of the viewers, if you could just tell what Hope Connect is in detail. My god, it's just amazing what you've done.
Thank you. And I think everyone who's had a family relative suffer through cancer, they'll definitely relate to that. Hope Connect is an idea that was generated because of my grandfather as well. He suffered through cancer, and more than the physical implications, he was suffering through the mental implications of cancer, which is not talked about much. So he used to be resistant in tapping into our personal network of recommendations and friends who would help him out survive these mental implications and not lock himself up in a room and don't talk to anyone and be silent. So I think yet again I would hammer upon this: collaboration is everything. Because sometimes you have talents that other people, you don't have talents that other people do, and you can synergize with it. So I contacted and I collaborated with two of my friends, and we thought of an idea of creating an app. Again, tech, 2024, AI, future. So we thought of creating an app that will allow us to build a community of cancer patients, survivors, and caregivers. In this app, friendships were built as people talked about various topics, from immunity boosting foods to wig procurement, and even CT scans and where they can get it all. So imagine a cancer patient calling up their doctor and asking about chemotherapy and the implications of it and what they can do to stop the side effects. That seems realistic, but you can't call up a doctor and be like, oh, where can I obtain that wig from? They don't have so much time. So of course you need these resources, you need so many people to talk to, and have a collaborative and mutual support being built in order to survive cancer. And definitely I think that this is what the app was entirely about. So I would give kudos to JPIs for this, because we contacted so we were able to contact so many medical experts because of them, and we talked to them and asked them what more features can we add. So then they allowed us to be affiliated to Jaipur Cancer Relief Society, which is a society in Jaipur that helps cancer patients. So my team and I went to SMS Hospital, which is the government hospital in Jaipur, and we visited the low income cancer ward over there. It was the most emotional experience I've ever had till date. If I speak about it, I have goosebumps, because I remember Seema ma'am, who's the head of Jaipur Cancer Relief Society, talking to a patient's wife and being like, "Okay, what has happened? Do you need something?" And she just burst into tears. She was like, "My husband's at hospital. I don't earn. I have two children. How do I manage everything? How do I manage the medication? How do I manage their education? How do I manage the entire household?" And it was just so emotional to see that. We realized that this is more than just mental health implications in itself. This is a big issue that no one is talking about. So we saw that this society was helping them by giving them employment, giving their children employment opportunities who were 18, who were above 18, giving them employment opportunities, giving them free medication, sometimes money, everything in entirety. But their limit, their approach, their everything was very limited and confined to Jaipur. So we thought, again, using our app to add a page in it that allowed these cancer patients to talk about what all they need. They would tell about their family size, how many children do they have, the cancer stage, the cancer type, what do they need. And we directly affiliated them to the Jaipur Cancer Relief Society, and hopefully many more such societies in the future, and they gave them the resources that they require. So this, hopefully having a pan India impact in the future, this is what the app did. And I think that is something, this is the project that I truly deeply feel about, and the project that I would call my it project.
No, I think the work that you've done at your age is just phenomenal. Even when you talk, that energy comes through. Like, we're not in the same room, but I can feel it that, oh, this is not just your it project to put on a resume, or to, apply to all these universities, or to get to all these universities. Whether or not you would have made it to these universities, you'd still have pursued it because it's something that you're passionate about. And this is the most important thing, it is about things that you care about. Don't just go about doing things that are just there, it just doesn't make sense. So kudos for thinking, for taking the initiative. I think another thing that I would also like to highlight here, and probably you can chime in and support, is the fear of a student not being able to do something outside of the box. Like, a lot of people feel that, oh, I will not be able to do this. Maybe this is too big a vision for me to accomplish. But I think I'd like to encourage all of our viewers and listeners that nothing is impossible. Like, a dream is only, if one dream is only impossible until, it's impossible in your head, until somebody achieves it. And as long as you keep on trying at it, and you're trying to, like, it's, if you're passionate about it, you're going to try hard enough, you're going to figure out a way and means to get it and accomplish it. So yeah,
100%. I think being everyone's age right now who's applying to colleges and who are going through the same exact thing, I would really say that right now, what we like initially as well, what I did was think of so many ideas, and I was jumping in between them, thinking like, oh, this idea sounds impressive on my resume, but I won't be able to do it, so I'll just remove that. I'll think of another idea. No, if you think of something, it's gonna take you a year. It's gonna take you a year and a half. But you gotta do it. If you are deeply passionate about it, you still have 4 years of high school, which are a lot. You can accomplish so much in that. So never give up on your dreams. Never. I think JPIS has taught me that don't be a dreamer, but be a doer.
Those are some words, don't be a dreamer, be a doer, because at the end of the day, execution is just everything.
You have to take action. Never give up on your dreams. It's gonna take you a lot of time, many, a gazillion failures, but it's all gonna be for nothing when you have that success.
Absolutely. That's very well said. I'm going to give you a silent clap because it's not, those are wise words. And, if I talk like this, probably people will think it's gyan. But if it comes from somebody who's their age, they probably are likely to, take it more seriously because, the pathway to success is failing, as they call it, fail forward. If you don't fail forward, you're not going to learn in life. All right. The next one, a very, very interesting project, which I think is going to boggle everybody's mind. And the name of that project is Greenback. So, how did this idea of Greenback come to you? What is Greenback? Let's start with that. And, what did you do with it? I mean, I know, but for the viewers, yeah.
Yeah, so again, as I said, my entire application was enrooted in sustainability. But you know, if you think of a theme, you think like, oh, I have to do activities that relate to that theme, and you start thinking like that. Trust me, I still remember Akriti ma'am coming up to me 2 days before my ED submission and being like, Preet, we're changing your common app. Why? Because we never thought the theme in the first place. We thought of the theme when my entire application was done. Sometimes you can't. Okay, so this is going to be a very realistic thing that I'm going to say. I think no one knows what they're passionate about. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes it's like, oh, I like this, I like that, I like that. What is my passion? What is my theme? I don't know it. It's okay. Just do whatever you feel like doing. At the end, after my entire application was done, my activity list was in place. When I saw it, I was like, oh, everything is related to sustainability. And that's when Akriti ma'am came up to me like yesterday I was looking at your common app. I was looking at your activity list and I was like, why aren't we writing about this? So this is how you'll get to your theme when you start doing stuff. When you start again, when you're doing it, when you're taking action, when you're doing something you're passionate about, even if it's multiple things, just do it. What's the harm? So I think that is one thing that really set my theme as sustainability, and that's where Greenback comes from. So as I said that I feel truly about sustainability. As we know, in India, demonetization has happened about two times at the right about two times, right? So I saw newses. I saw my father coming up to me and being like, "Oh, Preet, so many people are just burning their notes. People are throwing it in dustbin. Like people are going crazy. They think they're worthless." And I was like, "What is going on? This is not okay." So I did my research, and yes, research is very important. So I did my research and I was like going through some pages and I came across this company in France who turned fabric waste into furniture. And I was like, can I do that with notes? Can I do that with fabric? So again, collaboration, synergizing with people who are talented. And my physics teacher, I went in, I did a lot of experimentation, and yes, I definitely missed a lot of classes, which is not a good thing to do, but you gotta do it sometimes. So I used to spend, kudos to JPIS, the Design and Technology Lab. I used to sit there for days and days and try to experiment how I can convert these notes into furniture. It took us a year and a half, but we finally figured it out. Yet again, coming back to the point, don't give up. I think it was 50 times, almost 50 times, we couldn't make the prototype. It was too tough. But the
Wow.
51st time, we could do it. So we finally found the loophole. We got to know that the fabric can be used as a bonding to combine these notes into furniture, and we finally made the prototype. And now we have a tabletop still sitting at the school that we made using the help of our teachers, using the resources and not giving up.
Wow, wow. And I'm just going to, just share some pictures, of all the stuff that you've done here, because I'm sure, the viewers need to see
Yeah.
how can you make furniture out of discarded. notes or bills or whatever you would like to call it. So great, great, great. Like, I mean, that's when, when I heard this, it just blew my mind away. And I'm like, this is just insane, right?
And all to those business people who think that physics is not important, entrepreneurship is rooted in physics. This was all physics. If the ideation was business, but the implementation was physics. So
Absolutely.
I'd
I mean,
recommend
I
taking
think
physics.
taking sciences to some extent, I mean, whether it is physics or chemistry, biology more so, if you want to
Oh,
think,
heads
you're
out of
thinking
work.
on the lines of being a doctor, medic, profession, that's a different thing. But I feel one
Yeah,
sciences and core sciences, I don't mean ESS, right? One core science, whether it is physics or chemistry or biology, if that's what you desire or you like, you should take, even if it is at an SL level, but do it, because it is important, irrespective of you're thinking
yeah,
business, entrepreneurship, economics, engineering, for that matter, international relations. You'll be surprised at how strengthening. No, no, I'm telling you, I was just talking to this one person who ended up getting in Harvard for an IR course, and he had physics at an HL level. And I was just really surprised, that why physics at an HL level. So he came back saying that I just wasn't sure what I wanted to do, so I want to keep my options open. But more than anything, I feel physics forms the basics of anything that you want to do, whether it's engineering or otherwise. And I didn't want to like rob myself off from learning physics only because I wanted to substitute it with an easier subject, or more, so maybe more relevant. But yeah, it just, and also to some extent it demonstrated academic rigor. So that was also, that was there. But yeah, I mean, this is something that not many people understand, that please don't knock off your sciences, even if you're going for commerce based streams, like business, finance, whatever. All right. The last project that we're going to talk about, and then a couple of things others, and then I'll let you go, is going to be plastic. So, what is plastic? Again, I know we're going to talk about sustainability, but very briefly, if you can summarize. I just, the reason I'm talking all these projects one after the other is because the viewers can see, how deep you dug into sustainability. Like, it was not just in pure in name that, oh, I'm passionate about sustainability, and go and do beach cleanups. While that's okay, but that's just too superficial. These just show how in depth you not only feel about it, but you've
yeah.
done something about it. So a little bit about plastic, what do you do, and yeah, all the good stuff.
Okay, so plastic was a random project that we thought of. I was never planning on actually creating a project like plastic. We had an inter-school competition where we had to think about an innovation that will allow us to tackle the problem of microplastic accumulation in the ocean. We had a good basis, and again, researching is very very important. Do your research. We got to researching, and I came across a guy who had discovered and innovated something in ferrofluids, which is basically a component that allows us to extract microplastics, which was crazy. It was like the perfect solution. But that wasn't it. We had to think of a proper innovation, a proper device that could allow us to extract microplastics from the ocean. So then again, collaborating with my friends, I got to know that we can use a drone, an agricultural drone for which we have a patent pending right now, that allows me to sprinkle the ferrofluids into the ocean, use a fiber net and the magnets attached to it to extract microplastic from the surface of the ocean. So I think this was again a random project that we actually didn't think of accomplishing because it was very tough to do. But there's still a lot of work to do in it, but we did make a prototype of the drone and we have a patent pending now.
Perfect. That is just so cool to know. A 17-year-old awaiting a patent. I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm sure you set the bar so high for the kids out there. They're going to be like, how are we going to even come close to this? But I think what I really like, and the reason I'm liking what I'm listening, is because not one of these projects seem like you've done it from the perspective of college. It seems like, it's something that you wanted to do, and you did it. And even if you wouldn't have applied abroad, you would have still done it. Like, the application abroad is just one of the many
Oh,
things that this is
100%.
being used for, but you would have done it either ways. And I think that element, um in a person's personality, essays and deed, is supremely important. The intent is has to be right. It cannot be that I'm doing this because I want to get into the other university. The intent is I want to do this, come hail or storm, I'm going to do it. If I get into university, great. But the university is the beginning of my journey, it's not the end. I'm still going to do what I need to do.
Exactly. Oh, 100%. I think, yeah, definitely. You need to do what you gotta do.
Absolutely. All right. And now let's talk about a summer course. I think a math genius that you are. Can you talk about the Sumac summer course that you've done? And what was it? And just debrief all of our viewers.
Okay, so I think I never went to a summer program abroad, but thanks to JPIS, they bought the summer program to us. So basically, there was this course, pathways course for advancement in mathematics that I took a course for in 11th grade. And the professor there he used to be an ex SUMAC admissions officer. So I thought that it's going to be the most amazing course I can ever have, because, like, Stanford, the place of math, having a teacher from there come in to teach us math was the perfect thing to do. So, and of course, for the love of my math, propelled me to take that course. So, I think I would describe my professor as the most peculiar person, because he um he taught us math through the concept of mystery rooms. So basically, he asked us to make mathematical puzzles and clues that will allow us to make a mystery room. And it was so extraordinary. It made math interesting. Although it is interesting, I know some people are going to literally hate me for this, but it is interesting. So it is interesting, and he made it more interesting for us. So I think that was something that was amazing. I think, there are so many people who think that, oh, if we go to a summer program and if we do a summer program, it's gonna help us write a good, like, give us a good edge when we're writing our activity list. Well, that isn't true. Many people do summer programs. It's what you learn from it. It's if the teacher likes you or not. So from my summer program, I got an LOR from my teacher. I got an LOR from the professor that acted as a vital played a vital role in my application as well. That's what I think. I don't know exactly, but hopefully it did. And I think that matters a lot. You need to learn from it, not just do it. So I think that's what summer programs are all about. It's not necessary to do them, but if you think you can make the best out of it, you can learn something from it. You can equip yourself with some new skills that will enhance your resume. Then
And
definitely do
coming to
it.
the part of external LOR, you know how not all colleges take external LORs, some of them do, others don't. So, do you have an idea how this external LOR got attached to each of your application? It's especially the ones that did not allow external LORs.
Okay, so in Common App, you have to add your colleges. So when you go to the colleges ka portal, they have different sections. So if you go to the recommenders section, they have an option called other recommenders. So you add your email, add the professor's email. They'll receive another email and they will attach your LOR to it. So now, if you want to add your LORs to other colleges as well,
Hmm.
the same thing will go on. So it's quite a simple process. But yet again, when I was also getting an LOR from my Stanford professor, from my summer program professor, he told me this, that if you do have space, only then put
Hmm.
in my LOR, otherwise don't. And him being an admissions officer himself, I think it's a good lesson to learn from, because no one
Hmm.
knows you better than your own teachers. And colleges don't want to look at impressive names on your LOR, but look at what qualities about you have
Hmm.
been written in it. So that is also a thing that you need to take into consideration.
I think one last question that I have is the test optional policy. So I know that you have gone test optional for most of your applications, but what's your take on the SAT? What's your take on schools bringing SAT back again quite a lot? Yale and Dartmouth have already brought back SAT, and I'm sure this is a domino effect, as they say. Sooner
Yeah,
or later, everybody is going to have. By 2025, UCs have claimed that
everyone's
they'll come up
gonna
with their
come back.
own application exam, right? So now we'll have three exams to prepare for and not one or two, which is SAT or ACT. But what's your take on test prep? What's your take on SATs? What's your take on this entire scenario?
Okay, so I tried SAT for about 5 times. I couldn't get through with it. So I was quite, of course, it was daunting. I was scared because SAT is an essential part of your college application when it comes to the US. So I had contacted Akriti ma'am and I was like, I'm not able to do my SAT. She was like, it's okay, it's fine, your academics do make up for it. If you're a CBSE student applying to the US, I think SAT matters a lot to you. But if you're an IB student, I think it matters a little. It does matter a lot. I would never recommend anyone to not take the SATs, because even though not having a SAT doesn't put you at a disadvantage, it doesn't put you at an advantage either. So I think SAT is an important thing. I think I lucked out personally. So you should give the SAT, you should prep for it, but you shouldn't do it at the cost of your academics. Yet again, hammering back to my first point, don't put it at the cost of your academics. Sometimes your academics do compensate for it, and having a SAT will definitely allow you to. I think I was reading this article by Harvard the other day that they basically had conducted some research which allowed them to see that SAT is a much more reliable source of judging a person's academic success at the university when compared to their actual academic scores because of the risks of inflation and bias. So I think they do highly consider it. So you should give the SAT and you should try to prep for it and get the best scores. But it's not that bad if you don't have one, because you will get into universities nonetheless.
I think I'll add to this part. So, it's, I mean, as Preet has very, in the interview earlier, also mentioned that she had a 45 on 45, which is why, she was able to compensate not having an SAT. But if the score was lower by even say 5 or 6 points, then SAT would have played a very important role. So yes, having higher academics do definitely compensate for having a lower SAT score and going test optional. But let's say it was the other way around, meaning you had slightly lower academics, so borderline academics, like 40 or 41 as you predicted, then having a higher score will compensate. Having a higher score in SAT will compensate for having that 45. So I think it's a jigsaw, like it's a seesaw, you need to balance which one out and where, and not run away from test prep. Of course, after trying it multiple times, if you still feel this is not worth it, but your academics are supporting and kind of making up for SAT, it's perfect. So yeah, this is what my take on this is. I personally think. All right, and now I think we've reached the last part of our interview. So I think this journey itself is super daunting for people. These days, people start as early as ninth grade or sometimes even eighth grade, and it's just it's a roller coaster ride, right? You have so much of emotions attached to this journey. You make friends, and in general, it's not an easy process. Like there's just so much going on in the 4 years. Your 4 years just fly by like this, right? So any piece, like probably 3 to 5 pointers that you would like all the high schoolers to know about in this journey, and maybe that piece of advice could help the younger folks who are watching this interview or listening to this.
Yeah. Okay, so even though it seems like a long journey, when it ends, it's like, oh, did it end? I remember processing my college admissions for I think about a week before I actually thought that, oh, I have gotten in, I'm going to college. So that is also a surreal experience. And I think I'm gonna say some pointers that'll help you out through this journey. First of all, don't give up. Like, just don't give up. Work hard. I think there is this entire concept of work hard, play hard. So you should definitely focus on that, because I think setting your milestones will allow you to celebrate those milestones, celebrate those achievements, and allow you to finally have some fun. Because always working is also not a good thing to do. So work hard, play hard, don't give up. Um, Find your passion. It's going to be quite difficult, but find it, because you're going to find it somewhere. It's going to be there. Even though sometimes it might be like, oh, I have two passions. It's okay. Work on those two. You will figure out which one you like more. And even if you don't right now, you will figure out in college. Figure it out in college. That's the best part about US colleges. They have so much flexibility. Even if you don't like a subject, you can change into another subject. You can change into another field completely. So there's flexibility. So always try to find passions in everything that you have and everything that you like. And I think one more thing that I would like to hammer upon is be kind, be friendly, be collaborative, never be afraid to help others out, because I think this is something that my mom has taught me. Giving to others
Wow.
doesn't mean that you'll have less of it, because you have so much of it. So definitely be kind, be giving, and if you give happiness, you'll receive happiness. So never be afraid, never be cocky about my college application. I'm not going to show it to you. You are my competitor. Never have that unhealthy feeling in yourself. Always try to help others out, because it's not going to affect your destiny. It's not going to affect your hard work. You're still doing it for yourself. It's just going to build you as a person itself.
And I also would like to add to this. I know it's your piece to say, but I think the nicer, the nicer people, being nice to go up, you don't need to put somebody else down. It's very important to understand this, like, you do not need to malign somebody else so that you can climb up. You'll go up irrespective. The people who go up are the people who pull other up. They're not the people who pull others down. So be kind about it. Don't don't put somebody down for whatever reason they've not been able to accomplish, as great admissions or great things in life as you have. Just be kind, because you really never know at what point in time could be a changing point for somebody, or like a turning point in somebody's life and journey. And more than anything, at the end of the day, college, money, and everything that comes along is probably, like, if you help somebody, that's what people will remember. Nobody's going to tell, oh, I remember Preet because she went to UC Berkeley. I mean, I'm not putting down your accomplishments, but I'm saying with Preet, there are probably 5,000 other people who went to UC Berkeley. And there are 5,000 people who will go year on year basis, right? But what people will remember Preet for is, okay, she did something for cancer patients. She did something to really care about sustainability. She did something to help those 250 women artisans, the karigars over there, to live a livelihood. And that's what matters. So I think that's very important in today's day and time, where we become ruthless. We stop humanity. Please be humans. At the end of the day, you're gonna get what you truly deserve. Maybe not at a time you desire, but it'll definitely happen. All right, one last question. Which university are you planning to go? I'm very curious because you have like seven on your plate, and I'm like, these are, there's no way you can make a pros and cons list of this is good and that is good. So, or at least you nail down to like two universities if you have on your mind that, oh, I think these two look more probable out of the seven that I have, and which ones are those?
Okay, so I don't know. I think I probably have it down to Barnard, Northwestern, and UC Berkeley. The thing is, I've applied for different courses everywhere. So I've gotten for industrial engineering and operations research at Berkeley, and economics at Northwestern and Barnard. So I'm not sure what exactly I want to do yet, but I think US does provide that flexibility. If I go to even Northwestern, I have that opportunity to doing a double major in both of these courses. So I still have to think about it, but I think I've listed it down to these three. Still have a lot of thinking to do.
Oh, that's a tough call. Barnard, Northwestern, and Berkeley. My God. That's a tough choice, but a good choice to have, I guess.
Hopefully, I make the right one.
All right. I think I'm sure, but I think I had a great time in this
Me
interview. I
too.
mean, I think 1 hour just flew by
It's been
talking to
one
you. I
hour.
didn't realize it's been an hour, and
Oh God.
I mean, it's just fantastic. I can't believe that we spent 1 hour speaking with each other. But I mean, it's great catching up with you again,
You
and
too.
I had such a brilliant time. And thank you so much for being so open about the things that you did, the things that your projects, without holding anything back. That's pretty unfiltered Preet, which is usually how she usually is. But being on the show and being candid is fantastic. So thank you again for your time.
Thank you for
Lovely having
having
you
me.
over, and hope to meet with you soon.